Imagine building something from the ground up, a place of excellence, respect, and opportunity, only to discover it's not what you believed it to be. That's exactly what Darnell Sanders, a millionaire CEO in the fine dining industry, experienced one fateful evening. Disguised as an average customer, he walked into his flagship restaurant, Urban Harvest, looking for answers. What he found would shake him to his core and inspire a transformation not just for his business, but for his soul. Stay with us as we dive into this story of leadership, accountability, and redemption. If stories of growth, empathy, and change move you, don't forget to subscribe to Story Precious and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that touches the heart and inspires action. Darnell goes undercover. Urban Harvest was bustling that evening, filled with the hum of conversation, the clinking of silverware, and the wafting aroma of freshly baked bread. Darnell Sanders stood outside the glass doors, hesitating for a moment. Dressed in a plain hoodie, jeans, and sneakers, he was unrecognizable as the celebrated CEO who had built a restaurant empire over the past 15 years. He adjusted his hood and stepped inside, blending into the line at the counter. His heart raced, not from nerves but from curiosity. He wanted to see his restaurant as his customers did, without the polished introductions or curated experiences. The space was beautiful. Sleek wooden tables, an open kitchen bustling with activity, and a carefully curated playlist humming in the background. Yet Darnell wasn't here to admire the aesthetics. He was here to find out if the culture he worked so hard to instill still thrived. A conversation that changed everything. As Darnell moved forward in line, he overheard two teenage boys chatting behind him. Their energy stood out against the more subdued atmosphere of the restaurant. "Man, can you believe we're eating here?" one said, his voice brimming with excitement. "This place is fancy. My mom would flip if she knew." "Yeah," the other replied. "My cousin told me about the guy who owns this place, Darnell Sanders. She said he's done a lot for the community. My brother got a job here after struggling to find work, and now he's saving up for college." Darnell's heart swelled with pride. Hearing his name spoken not in boardrooms or interviews, but by kids whose lives had been touched by his work was humbling. But the conversation took a turn. "My brother says the manager here isn't great," one boy whispered. "He talks down to people and makes them feel bad. A lot of the staff are scared of him." Darnell froze. The pride he felt moments ago evaporated. Could it be true? Had his values been undermined by someone he trusted to lead? Observing the staff. When Darnell reached the counter, Maya, the cashier, greeted him with a polite but robotic smile. "Welcome to Urban Harvest. What can I get for you?" Darnell ordered a roasted salmon bowl and, glancing at her name tag, added, "Thank you, Maya." Her expression shifted briefly, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. It struck Darnell. Was she so unaccustomed to being addressed personally? As he waited for his food, Darnell spotted the manager. A tall man in a tailored shirt stood near the kitchen, his arms crossed. His posture radiated control, but not the kind that inspired respect. Darnell watched as the manager scolded a young server for refilling a drink without being asked. The server mumbled an apology and hurried away. His shoulders slumped. Darnell's chest tightened. The atmosphere in the restaurant felt tense. Smiles faded as soon as customers turned away, and the staff moved as though walking on eggshells, confronting the truth. After finishing his meal, Darnell approached the manager. "Excuse me," he said calmly. "I'd like to speak with you privately." The manager frowned, clearly annoyed. "And you are?" Darnell pulled back his hood, meeting the man's gaze. "I'm Darnell Sanders, the owner of this restaurant." The manager's confidence dissolved instantly. "Mr. Sanders, I didn't." "That's the point," Darnell interrupted. "Let's talk." Inside the office, Darnell addressed the elephant in the room. "I've heard and seen things tonight that don't align with our values. Staff feel disrespected and intimidated. Is this the culture we're creating?" The manager hesitated before admitting, "No. This restaurant isn't just a business," Darnell said. "It's a place where people should feel valued, customers and staff alike. If we lose that, we lose everything." The manager nodded, his demeanor shifting from defensive to reflective. A commitment to change. Darnell didn't stop there. He gathered the staff and spoke to them directly. This place wouldn't exist without you. Each of you matters, and if something isn't working, I want to hear about it. My door is open. For the first time that evening, Darnell saw hope in their eyes. The staff exchanged glances, their guarded expressions softening. That night, back home, Darnell drafted an email to all his managers. He outlined new initiatives, anonymous feedback systems, leadership training programs, and regular staff surveys. It wasn't enough to talk about change. He needed to ensure it happened. Returning to a transformed space. Weeks later, Darnell returned to Urban Harvest. This time, the atmosphere was different. Maya greeted him warmly, the young server moved confidently between tables, and the manager carried himself with humility. As Darnell scanned the room, one of the boys from that fateful night waved him over. "Thanks for what you do," the boy said, grinning. "No," Darnell replied, his voice steady. "Thank you. You reminded me why I started this." The story of Darnell Sanders is not only an example of sound leadership, but also a profound lesson about responsibility and connection in any work environment. This is a story about realizing that the values you build do not just exist on paper, but must be demonstrated in everyday action. Meaningful message. Lead with your heart and listen to reality. Leadership is not just about making decisions from above, but also about the ability to observe, listen, and correct when things go off track. Darnell proves that true leadership is when you are willing to face the truth, even when it's hard to hear. Create an environment of respect and inclusion. An organization is not just a workplace, but a community where people feel respected and valued. Connection with employees and customers not only improves service quality, but also builds a sustainable foundation for the business. Take action for change. Promises and values need to be realized through concrete actions. Darnell not only listened, but also implemented practical changes such as leadership training, anonymous feedback systems, and satisfaction surveys. Responsibility goes beyond profits. The true value of a business lies not just in revenue, but in the positive impact it brings to employees, communities, and customers. Darnell's story is a reminder that each of us, no matter our position, is responsible for the values we represent. Especially for leaders, the responsibility goes beyond making decisions, but also ensuring that everyone in the organization feels respected and fair. Darnell has realized that true success is not just about numbers, but the stories behind each individual he touches. This story teaches us that leadership isn't about control, it's about service. Darnell's experience shows the power of listening, accountability, and action in creating lasting change. If this story inspired you, subscribe to Story Precious for more tales of transformation and hope. Let's build a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued. Hit the notification bell and join our community of changemakers.